Civil and human rights advocacy groups on January 22 vowed to aggressively challenge President Donald Trump's executive order that directed government agency chiefs to dismantle DEI policies at federal agencies, which drew praise from the right and also drew opposition from the left.
Any of the activities that were going on in these DEI agencies should be viewed as ineffective and not furthering the purpose of taxpayers or the Trump administration's goals for the country. So I think that is likely why it was so far-reaching.
Diversity advocates have argued such policies are necessary to address long-standing inequities.
They're trying to score political points, but they're not doing it because diversity, equity, inclusion, or DEI is a bad thing, or they have any evidence that it's a bad thing.
Trump's order revokes executive policies dating as far back as 1965 on equal employment opportunities, environmental actions designed to protect communities of color, and workforce balancing efforts by federal contractors based on race, gender, and religion. Worldwide News reports.
In his first major address to global leaders at the World Economic Forum on Thursday, U.S. President Trump detailed his plans to tackle inflation and boost fossil fuel production.
Over the past 4 years, our government racked up $8 trillion in wasteful deficit spending and inflicted nation-wrecking energy restrictions, crippling regulations, and hidden taxes. The result is the worst inflation crisis in modern history and sky-high interest rates for our citizens.
Speaking via video conference, Trump declared that the past 72 hours since his inauguration had brought about a revolution of common sense, pledging to make the U.S. a powerhouse in artificial intelligence, cryptocurrencies, and energy production.
I declared a national energy emergency to unlock the liquid gold under our feet and pave the way for rapid approvals of new energy infrastructure.
Trump emphasized the U.S.'s vast oil and gas reserves, promising to harness them to lower the cost of goods and services, thereby boosting American manufacturing. The president also touched on his commitment to tax cuts and deregulation, while hinting at the upcoming implementation of tariffs on imported goods starting February 1st.
To further unleash our economy, our majorities in the House and Senate are going to pass the largest tax cut in American history, including massive tax cuts for workers and families and big tax cuts for domestic producers and manufacturers. And we're working with the Democrats on getting an extension of the original Trump tax cuts. My message to every business in the world is very simple. Come make your product in America, and we will give you among the lowest taxes of any nation on earth.
As the speech wrapped up, his remarks were met with applause, signaling business leaders' anticipation for the concrete steps he'll take in the weeks ahead. Worldwide News Report.
U.S. President Donald Trump signed an executive order suspending the entry of migrants into the United States at the southern border with Mexico. A Texas investigator and a CBP chief agent said this policies might put more migrants' lives at risk.
We're going to encounter more people trying to smuggle through the brush area, through the ranches, through the farms. And with that, it comes more accidents, it comes more deceased persons in the ranches. And of course, we're going to keep having deceased bodies in the river.
And could increase violence from cartels.
They need to be successful for them to make money, and as it gets harder and harder for them to be successful, we do see that the increases in assaults, uses of force, things like that do increase. So we've been putting a concerted effort on all of our training to make sure that our agents are best equipped, best trained to deal with those situations.
Trump declared illegal immigration a national emergency and tasked the U.S. military with aiding border security. He also issued a broad ban on asylum and took steps to restrict citizenship for children born on American soil. But it looks like things will not be easy. Worldwide News reports.
U.S. President Donald Trump told business leaders at the World Economic Forum in Davos on Thursday that he wants to lower global oil prices. He said he will ask Saudi Arabia and OPEC to bring down the cost of oil. Oil prices turned negative as Trump spoke, while the euro dipped and the U.S. dollar swung between gains and losses against a basket of foreign currencies.
Saudi Arabia We'll be investing at least $600 billion in America, but I'll be asking the Crown Prince, who's a fantastic guy, to round it out to around $1 trillion. And I'm also going to ask Saudi Arabia and OPEC to bring down the cost of oil. If the price came down, the Russia-Ukraine war would end immediately. Right now, the price is high enough that war will continue.
Some of his harshest criticism was reserved for traditional U.S. allies Canada, who he threatened again with new tariffs, while berating their import policies, blaming them for the U.S.'s trade goods deficit with these partners. One thing we're going to be demanding is respect from other nations. We have a tremendous deficit with Canada. We're not going to have that anywhere, he said.
Canada, we have a tremendous deficit with Canada. We're not going to have that anymore. Well, I say you can always become a state. And if you're a state, we won't have a deficit. We won't have to tariff you, etc. over the years. And it's not fair that we should have a $200 billion or $250 billion deficit. We don't need their oil and gas. We have more than anybody.
People cheered as Trump's face appeared on the big screen, whose first elected office was the White House, listed the rapid-fire changes he had made since his swearing-in on Monday. Worldwide News Report.
Mr. President. Thank you.
A televised interview with Republican U.S. President Donald Trump was aired on January 22, just days after he was sworn in for a second non-consecutive mandate. Trump addressed the topic of TikTok, said that the China spy is not so important.
We have so many things made in China, so why don't they mention that, you know? Let me get to the interesting thing with TikTok, though, is you're dealing with a lot of young people. So they love it. Is it that important for China to be spying on young people, on young kids watching crazy videos, I think?
Trump also mentioned the topic of Congress reconciliation. Pardons for supporters jailed for the January 6, 2021, attack on the U.S. Capitol.
They were treated like the worst criminals in history. And you know what they were there for? They were protesting the vote because they knew the election was rigged and they were protesting the vote. And that you should be allowed to protest a vote. You should be allowed to.
U.S. legislators last year passed a law upheld by the U.S. Supreme Court, requiring ByteDance to either sell TikTok or face a ban, citing national security concerns. Many Democratic and Republican lawmakers still want to see ByteDance sell the app. Worldwide News reports.
On Thursday, U.S. President Donald Trump raised doubts about continued U.S. financial support for NATO, questioning whether the United States should be contributing at all. Speaking to reporters after signing an executive order, Trump reiterated his long-standing demand for NATO members to significantly increase defense spending.
They're not protecting us, we're protecting them. I'm not sure we should be spending anything, but we should certainly be helping them. But they should up their 2% to 5%.
On the sidelines of the World Economic Forum, NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte described the current situation as crisis mode, highlighting the alliance's struggles to ramp up defense production. Rutte also stressed the need for more support for Ukraine to prevent further Russian aggression.
So we are really in crisis mode here. So first, money, much more to be spent. The ones not on 2% have to get to the 2% in the next couple of months. We cannot wait any longer. And then on industry production, we are really in a bad place here.
German opposition leader Friedrich Merz acknowledged that Germany would eventually have to spend more than 2% on defense, but argued that it should focus on improving efficiency before pushing for a drastic increase.
Wir müssen jetzt zunächst einmal das 2%-Ziel erreichen. Das ist eine gewaltige Kraftanstrengung. Da liegen wir 30 bis 40 Milliarden hinter dem Budgetansatz im Einzelplan 1.4 des Bundeshaushaltes. Und wir werden danach mehr tun müssen, aber effizienter ausgeben. Wir können mehr für unser Geld bekommen. Und deswegen muss das Beschaffungssystem geändert werden.
NATO Secretary General Rutte also voiced strong agreement with U.S. President Trump's stance on the Arctic's strategic importance. Rutte emphasized that NATO must develop a comprehensive approach to address the growing geopolitical competition in the region, particularly from Russia and China.
No, he didn't say that he is going to invade Greenland. Nobody said that. What he said is we have to make sure that the Arctic is of a huge geopolitical interest and we have to get our act together. And I know that he has on this the support of Mette Frederiksen and others. All of these countries, including the US, are discussing and dialoguing how to make sure that we have a holistic strategy on the Arctic.
Worldwide News Report.
It's a ridiculous war.
U.S. President Trump said on January 22, if Putin can't make a deal, Trump has no other choice but to put high levels of taxes, tariffs, and sanctions on anything being sold by Russia to the United States and various other participating countries, and on January 23, Trump said that he was ready to meet with Putin as soon as possible to end what he called a ridiculous war.
From what I hear, Putin would like to see me, and we'll meet as soon as we can. I'd meet immediately. Every day we don't meet, soldiers are being killed in a battlefield, and that battlefield is like no battlefield since World War II. That's it. And I have pictures that you don't want to see. Soldiers are being killed on a daily basis at numbers that we haven't seen in decades. And it'd be nice to end that war.
Trump added he sees a very good relationship between the United States and China, and that he hopes China can help end Russia's war in Ukraine.
We look forward to doing very well with China and getting along with China. Hopefully China can help us stop the war with, in particular, Russia-Ukraine. They have a great deal of power over that situation.
Trump also said U.S. efforts to secure a peace settlement were now hopefully underway, but gave no details. Worldwide News reports.